Hey everyone, it's Andre Luck here to share my video for this week, which is around running effective sales meetings. So, as a sales leader, a lot of times you'll have to run meetings. That's one-on-one meetings, that's team meetings, that's deal review meetings. So, I want to talk through the challenges that come with running those meetings, the solutions to help run more productive meetings, and some of the benefits that come from that. But really, a lot of times, people feel that you're in meetings so much that it's difficult to actually execute on the things that you're looking to meet about on a consistent basis. So this talks about making sure that these are effective meetings and people are getting good takeaways from it and they're productive. So the first one I'm going to talk through is one-on-one meetings. So this is meeting with your direct reports. This could be on a weekly or bi-weekly basis, but really getting to spend time with them on a one-to-one basis, because especially in a sales culture, there's a lot going on. You're going through your sales, everything like that. As a leader, you're busy with other meetings. So this is your time to really connect and spend one-to-one time with some of your direct reports. So for me, I like to meet with my direct reports on a weekly basis. But again, it kind of depends on the bandwidth and, how does your sales culture and everything like that work. But some of the challenges that come with it, a lot of times people are too transactional in those meetings. What I mean by that, it's too much about business. And a lot of times people want to share what's going on in their career. They want to talk about what's going on in their life. What are their goals and aspirations? So if all we do is focus on numbers, revenue, targets, goals, percent to goal, everything like that, we don't give space and time for them to talk about things that are on their mind, then you're going to miss the mark. The other thing is you miss that opportunity to connect on a deeper level and really understand them as a person. What are things that are important to them? What do they enjoy outside of work? What are things they like in their personal life and everything like that? We spend so much time at work, and especially in sales, it could be a very draining and grueling job that sometimes you want to be able to connect with people on more of a personal level. I remember once there was someone that I was managing, and I like to start each conversation off with how are things going personally, how are things going with the family, everything like that. They were a little caught off guard. It was our first time meeting. They're like, "Whoa, whoa, like why are you asking about family?" Like they're so focused on business, and it takes time to build that relationship. So it takes time to understand and everything like that. But it was funny, by the end of us working together years later, like you tell everything she would lead with that in some of our meetings. So really understanding what's going on personally for them and everything like that, so that they can bring their best self to work and show up as the best employee they can. So some solutions to help with that, so it's not just so work focused, is you could split the meetings into two halves. So let's say it's an hour long meeting, it could take 30 minutes where you focus more on the performance, so the metrics, the data, the calls, the appointments, the revenue, everything like that. And then you could spend the other half of the meeting talking about some of the more personal things to them. What are their career aspirations? How are they developing and progressing in their career? What are things going on in their personal life that they want to share and talk about, or maybe need guidance on? So that's one way that you can connect on, a deeper level and really not miss that opportunity to connect. The other thing I'd say is being completely present. It's very annoying when you're in a meeting with someone and they're checking their emails and they're checking their phone and they're answering other calls. It makes you feel like you're not important. So if you could put your phone on silent, if you can make sure you turn off your screen of your monitor so you're not looking at emails as they come through, and you can give them the undivided attention so they know that this time is valuable to you and to them. Going back to what I talked about last time about retaining some of your top people, making them feel important, making them feel heard is a big part of keeping that retention and engaging them. So making sure that this time that you put on the calendar, it's for them, and it's not just something that you check off the list of things that you need to do for the day. Like you really are present for it. The next type of meeting we'll talk through is team meetings. And these could be a few different types. They could be like a small group meeting, like an individual department, like example, like an inside sales team or a season ticket sales team or something like that, anywhere from like 5 to 10 people, all the way up to an entire department, which sometimes could be as large as 30, 40, 50 plus people. The challenge that comes with that is one, making sure it's not draining, because sometimes you have to deliver difficult messages and make sure that if things aren't going on in the business, you call those things out. But then the other thing is making sure you keep everyone engaged, and it's very difficult to connect with 30 plus individuals on a few common themes because they're all thinking about what's most relevant and important to them. So if you get too deep in the weeds on one part of the business, you turn off maybe 2/3 of your team or department that's maybe not as engaged or listening to what's going on within those meetings and everything like that. So you want to keep it really high level and maybe come to the meeting with like 2 to 3 main points that you want to hit on and things that resonate at a higher level. And then you could take that individually to all right, here are the three things we hit on for the overall department or organization, and here's what that means to this team, or here's what that means to this individual, or your direct reports that maybe have reps underneath them or people that work underneath them. They could take that message and, hey, Andre said this for the department, here's what that means for our team. So keeping it high level with 2 to 3 things that you go into, because no one wants to sit and listen to 10 different updates within a meeting. They want to make sure that it's quick, it's impactful, everything like that. The other thing to make sure you set the tone and set the meeting off on the right foot is to start with wins. And sometimes it seems a little fundamental and elementary, especially if you have a more senior sales team. But everyone likes being recognized. So calling out specifically what people did, not just someone made a big sale, but here's what they did to make that big sale. Or here's what I've noticed that they've done very well, and calling that out in front of their team members, that's a good way to do it. Or asking for wins so people can share wins and successes that have happened, either it's for them or for other people. It just helps set the meeting off on a positive tone so that people come into the meeting excited and they look forward to going to these meetings. So the challenge that I faced a lot of times when, especially when I became like an early manager and director, is I would go in, all right, thinking I want them to take this away from the meeting, and if they don't, it's a failure. So a lot of times I'd be speaking to maybe 1 or 2 people that really I'm having an issue with, and 10 people had to listen to it. And so instead, I should have just taken it to those 1 or 2 people versus having the whole team preaching to the choir, everything like that. And then also expecting the result that I wanted to happen and just, have the meeting and just let it happen. The other challenge I ran into is if I put 60 minutes on the calendar, I tried to fill it with 60 minutes of content, even if I had to force conversations and force things that, people didn't necessarily care about. I like the idea of bringing everyone together because I valued that when I was a rep and, getting to hear different perspectives and everything like that. But if it only needs 20, 30 minutes, then only take 20, 30 minutes of people's time. People are busy and they have other things that they're focused on rather than sitting in your meeting because of what you want to get across. If you need to get a message to someone, talk to that person individually. Don't make the whole team listen to it. The last meeting I want to talk through is deal review meetings. So these are important because these are meetings where you look at the health of your pipeline and what you can do to move deals closer to a decision, whether that's getting a no, a decision, but hopefully a yes, and getting to a close in a decision. So you could do this one-on-one, but a lot of times it's good to bring a group or a team together so they can all help, move the deal forward or give insights on, maybe similar situations they were in or how they could overcome an objection that someone's running into. But the challenge is, you go into these meetings and sometimes there's not clear direction or there's not clear next steps taken away from it. Or you just give a bunch of updates to people. If they just looked up the accounts in CRM, they could have saw the updates on their own versus taking an hour for everyone to go through every single account and talk through, here's where we're at in the stage. Or maybe they're given an update from an account that we talked about the month before and it's the same exact update just to fill the time. So a couple solutions to that, a couple ways to resolve that. First thing, come with a clear agenda and send that before, at least a day or two before the meeting, so people can come prepared to the meeting. They look at the list of the accounts. Maybe they already have some suggestions and things like that, or they brought people that they know people within that account or that influence that account that could potentially help. But having an agenda and a clear direction for what the meeting is going to be about. We're going to talk about deals that we lost over the last 30 days. We're going to talk about deals that are expected to close in the next 30 days and what we can do to move that forward and get them across the finish line. Not just, hey, bring your accounts, talk to your top accounts, but it is very vague and you're not specific on what that means by talking about your top accounts. The other thing you could do to help with that is have a clearly defined process for your stages in your CRM. So what I mean by that is typically most teams have stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, all the way up to a close. And each of those maybe have different intricacies to it. But if it's not clearly defined, it's really subjective on, when you bring this list of accounts, you say, all right, they're in stage 2. If that means something different to another person, then it's very vague and they have to really dig in and really explain specifically, like, what does it mean that they're in stage 2 and what's the next step? If you have a clearly defined process of here's what it means to be in stage 2, that means that we have a meeting set. And stage 3 means that a meeting was completed and we've sent a proposal, whatever it may be. If it's clearly defined, when you look and see this accounts in stage 3, you know what that means. And to graduate or to exit stage 3 and to move to stage 4, these things need to happen. Then you're very clear on what the next steps are and how people can help move that forward. And then the person who's managing that account or who's running that account knows what they need to do to get to the next step, which is eventually to a close. It's not always linear, but it just helps having clear processes. But really the big takeaway for me with these is going back to your CRM processes and making sure people input their CRM. I know it can be tedious, so you want to put as minimal fields as possible that sales reps have to fill out. And I'm experiencing that now just running my own CRM. I use HubSpot, and putting things into accounts and everything like that. I feel for all the reps that I used to get on about how much they didn't use CRM properly, because it can be a lot of administrative work and it can be tedious, but it is beneficial in the long run because you have more informed decision making and you have clear direction on where you're going with each account and where they're at in the pipeline. So as much as possible, if you could streamline that, if you can standardize your processes and only put the fields that are necessary that you're going to be reporting on, so people don't have to fill in a bunch of fields just to do busy work, it's all going to help. But to wrap up, a couple tips that I just want to talk through as it relates to meetings as well. Have a regular cadence for your meetings. So what I mean by that is have it on the calendar and have it on a reoccurring basis. So for me, when I was a VP of sales, I had one-on-ones with my direct reports on a weekly basis. Some I met with on a bi-weekly basis. That was always on the calendar on a reoccurring meeting schedule. I had a team meeting every week, and I had a larger department meeting every month. And in that meeting, where the team meeting was more high level, it was the entire department, but it was just kind of quick updates and the other leaders would share their updates. The monthly meeting was where I dive deeper into the numbers. How are we pacing towards our goal? What were successes from the previous month? What are things to look forward to for the next month? Who are some of the top performers that we could recognize and call out going into the next month? Everything like that. But making sure that you have a regular cadence so people can build their schedule around it and they know, all right, here are the meetings that we always have, and here's the cadence and everything like that. So if they have updates or things that can wait till the meeting, they know when they're going to meet with you again so that they can bring those up. As I said earlier, like not meeting just to meet. If it could be an email, then send it as an email. I liked having meetings because it brought people together, but a lot of times it could just be, 4 or 5 bullet points in an email, especially if you're pressed for time, if you're in sports, if you're in a season, you got a lot of games, or you're in a homestand or something like that. Don't bring everyone together if everyone's busy, and you could just give a quick few updates over an email. People will really appreciate that. If at all possible, don't move the meeting. I know sometimes things come up last minute, or your boss puts like a last minute meeting on your calendar, you have to move it. But within 24 to 48 hours, like really try and hold that meeting, especially if it's a one-on-one meeting, because it starts to get frustrating if you get a last minute cancellation or people don't show up like, oh, I forgot to move the meeting. It just shows that, maybe you don't respect or value their time, or maybe people feel that way, although that might not be the truth. So the best you can, keep any meetings that you have on the calendar. And then if you're, a director, senior director, vice president, where you have a manager underneath you that has reports that report to them on a consistent basis, maybe it's not monthly, maybe it's quarterly, or every couple months, you're meeting with their direct reports, just so they can get FaceTime with you, but also you can get feedback on how they're being coached, not to really micromanage their boss, or to check in on their boss, but to understand and make sure that they're getting the resources they need from their boss so you can best provide that, and also give that connection so you're staying close to your staff as well and not so far removed where you're getting everything kind of second, third hand from your managers and from your leaders and everything like that. So you do that well. It all ties back to the common theme that we're talking about with all of these videos, which you're creating a winning sales culture. You're doing things as a sales leader that's going to help you have a lot of success. So you have a staff that's more engaged, they're more bought in. You're going to make more informed decisions because you're just learning things in these brainstorming and these kind of collision type meetings where you're just bringing people together. They're staying in communication. They're getting direct communication from you. One of the most challenging things in an organization is from the top, getting a message from, your president, executive, all the way down to, the lowest level within your organization or the newest person within your organization. And a lot of times these meetings can help with that and facilitate that communication to make sure everyone stays aligned. So if you keep them engaging, you keep them impactful, you talk about things where everyone's staying aligned, then you're going to be able to have more synergy and then make more informed decisions in the long run. So next week, I'll talk about another video or another topic in my video for next week. I'll talk about a topic that plays right into this, which is having difficult conversations. So a lot of times in these meetings, you have to have difficult conversations, and that can be challenging, especially if you're a new manager, on what that looks like. So I'll talk through some some challenges with that, but then also some ways that you can have difficult conversations so that they're productive for everyone involved. So, as always, appreciate you tuning in. Feel free to drop any comments here or share any feedback with me. But I'll be back next week with another video. Thanks.